Welcome back, fellow armchair generals. This is Gamer1745 here with my continuing playthrough of Hearts of Iron 4's Black Ice. And I want to thank Tim, Strongarm, Niagro, Timothy, Sir Toyjet, Gary, Garrett, Marcus, Folk, and of course the great Hoffmanator for support over on Patreon. But everybody, all I really ask anybody to do is like the videos. Hope I'm doing a good enough job that you'll do that. And of course, if you're new, subscribe. And post comments are also helpful. My father said after the war he merely wanted to stay wasted for about 17 years. Well, I can understand that too. War is a trauma. Yeah. All right. So we have a faction that we can invite to our war. We can invite Iran. Okay, we'll do another quick history lesson. Iran in World War II. We can talk about the use, and this does not look like Reza Pahlavi. Well, maybe as a very, very young guy it might, but he was white-haired by the time World War II happens, and bald on the top. And I think just had a mustache and not a goatee. But, yeah. I mean, he looks vaguely Iranian or something maybe, but other than that, I don't know. They had been internationally known, not necessarily internally known, but internationally known as Persia. During the 1930s, they wanted to appear and seem like a more modern country. They definitely wanted to modernize. They wanted to at least get internationally known as Iran, and that is supposedly meaning Aryan, a version of Aryan, and that they specifically go and have various meetings and connect to Nazi Germany and their Aryanist movement. They are trying to say, we are Europeans too. We are Aryans too. And so there is, and again, the mod that I made for Hearts of Iron 3's Black Ice covers this in some detail with some events that happened, that Iran is moving closer to National Socialist Germany, emphasizing Aryan and trying to say we are that too. I don't know that the Germans were fully on board with that idea that they were Aryans also, but the German, because they had several meetings with Hitler, and they sort of nodded and went along with it, because I don't think it was harmful from their viewpoint, harmful. Now, when the war breaks out, Iran is at peace, and it tries to stay at peace, unlike Iraq, which does revolt against their sort of British overlords. Their British imposed king. Oh boy, Faisal, their King Faisal. Now you'll see him famously played with very good makeup by Alec Guinness in the Lawrence of Arabia movie. It is that King Faisal that was down here leading a particular Arab tribe that the British install in Iraq as king of Iraq. Now he is sort of trying to become some sort of king up somewhere in here, or maybe earlier along here, but he accepts the gig of being king of Iraq. So he is put in, I don't know if he ever literally visited Iraq prior to being installed as king there and having his, in essence, his tribe move in with him into Iraq to rule Iraq as a British protectorate, with the idea that he was the king and the Iraq was a country, but it was under a protectorate, unlike a direct colony, which Cyprus was a direct colony of Britain. It was owned by Britain, shall we say. It was a direct colony. This was a local government that Britain oversaw. The Iraqis revolt against Faisal, I guess maybe this guy, Not quite sure, but they revolt and they fight Britain for a while, briefly, until they lose. Iran stays at peace until I think it's 1942. I'm not sure, but it's after America enters the war. They wait till after the Americans enter the war. Russia is getting eventually, and not necessarily in 42, and yeah, the map is a lot closer. There are planes being flown from Alaska to large numbers eventually to Vladivostok or some other airports, maybe even up in Sakhalin, to the Russians, to the Soviets, that the Japanese do not intercept because they are worried about opening another front with Russia. There are ships that are flagged, and not just literally flying a flag, they literally paint the flags on the side of the ships and send to the Japanese shipping schedule so they know where and when they're being shipped, that were Russian flag ships that were coming out of American and or Canadian ports and going to, again, Vladivostok primarily. But this is a trickle. And part of the problem is this great distance. And I am not sure, even if in World War II, if the railway is actually connected, the one that goes to Vladivostok. I believe, I don't know World War II. Again, we can sort of kind of look here. Because of these mountains here. I believe in World War I, but I'm not sure even there exactly. But for a long period of time, they literally come into here and then take a ferry across and then connect to the railway. And I believe the ferries that are actually would, I believe, and it's been a long time since I've seen anything on this. I believe you could literally drive the train on, in some cars, and maybe you would load up. I don't know. I'm just guessing here. 8 cars long, 4 cars wide, track wise, and then they would go and then be quickly offloaded. So not even like loading and taking the stuff off the train and loading it on. They just load the train cars loaded onto the ferry and go on. That was at least for a while. This is Lake Baikal, very, very, very deep lake. Maybe by World War II this is connected. I'm not sure. I know for game purposes they can't have it come here and then have it port-wise. If you notice on all these Paradox games, there are no ports in the Caspian Sea. All the seaports have to be connected. There are no lake ports that do not have a sea connection. So I guess nothing through the St. Lawrence Seaway here is connected in a Paradox game, and it has something to do with their engine. You cannot have multiple, or it appears to be, you cannot have multiple oceans. So if you go back to, and I always thought this was weird, this goes all the way back to EU, the original, which I played way back when, before I even heard of Paradox. I was always wondering why there were no ports along here, or any of the other games, when there were, because they're not connected. And it's something to do with their engine. This is gone. This is literally gone. The Soviets dried up the Aral Sea. But Baikal is super, super deep and whatnot. So, but even if you get to here, and there wasn't that many ships that the Soviets could flag to run, that the Japanese would do it. You had to transfer all of the stuff all the way along here to get to the front. And of course, as we talked about earlier, I'll get to the chat in just a moment. Earlier with the Germans sitting up here, they were bombing from aircraft. They were submarines coming out from bases along here. There were motor torpedo boats that were dashing out. And there was, well, for a while, there was the Tirpitz and other large surface warfare vessels that would come after convoys up here. And especially summer was bad because you could see very, very far, because it was daylight for, well, in summer, for part of it, all 24 hours a day. So it was bad to do it. And at winter, Archangel was iced in. So you had to land up here in Murmansk. And the ice closed down in further, so it reduced your area of maneuver as well. The ice cap would grow in winter and retreat in summer a bit. So that was an issue there. So I believe it was in 42. that the Soviet Union and Britain, I don't know how much the dividing line was done prior to the invasion, but versus just simply who occupied what areas first. But in a mostly bloodless military invasion, I don't want to de-emphasize the military invasion, but it was basically no fighting. Britain and the Soviet Union occupy Iran with the primary reason for it, and not just external justification, but actual reason for it, was to move huge numbers of huge amounts of Lend-Lease supply to Russia. And this is why, again, we can look here. Stalingrad is so important. Because if you get Stalingrad, and then of course you get here, there are no, and we can see some sort of vague sense of, and I think this is more or less correct, some vague rail lines moving around here, but there is nothing. Here is Astrakhan, the famous, Russian steppe city or Eastern steppe city, fabled. But we can see here that this is just desert out here. So everything needs to come through here. So if the Germans had taken Stalingrad, yes, there's railways here. Yes, I think the pipeline that comes out of Baku, there is a pipeline. I think it comes closer to Stalingrad. I'm not absolutely sure on all of this. I don't know that this is entirely correct, exactly where there's rails. I think there is a railway along here. But a massive amount of the goods get put on board local shipping and move up to here, and then move up this river. There is, by World War II, so this started by World War II, these two are connected through a canal system. Maybe really small ships, not normal ocean-going things, but things that we would call a ship, but definitely things that we would call a canal barge, are connected up through here, so that via water routes in summer, because this will freeze over in winter, in summer are able to connect the Caspian to the Black Sea. But again, during summer, there is a lot of barge traffic up into here, into the various rail systems. So Stalingrad, and then once you get Stalingrad, could potentially allow you to cut off more. So Stalingrad is a major key in why the Russians fight so hard for it. Because if they don't fight hard for it, the Germans take it and secure it, it's not just a particular German victory and or propaganda victory of Germany defeating Stalingrad, Stalin's namesake city, but it is a strategic location that allows it to. And to give you the scale of American aid, and there's also British aid going, British tanks, British made equipment going to Russia, but to give the scale of American, of two different models of large military trucks, and these are only two different models, and one, I read this just a couple of weeks ago, one, and I forget the exact, these are the sort of standard army type trucks, you might say, of World War II. One type was approximately 50,000 trucks that during the Lend-Lease, during World War II, America, one of these two types of trucks, America got to the Russians, to the Soviets, of just one of these two types, 50,000. And the other type, 150,000 trucks. Got those numbers right? 200,000 trucks are delivered to the Soviet Union during World War II from Dodge and General Motors, because of the GMC truck. 200,000 trucks are delivered to the Soviet Union. You probably thought the 50,000 was going to be big. No, we're not. We've not invaded Norway at all, or Denmark. We're going. We already talked about it earlier, so I won't go into details on that. But no, So that just to give you the scale. Now, maybe a lot of these trucks also came loaded with supplies and driving north, but they didn't come back and go south. These were donated or lend-lease, however you want to sold 200,000 trucks. Now, can you imagine how much more difficult any of these Soviet offensives if you take away 200 trucks, or 200,000 trucks, not 200 trucks, 200,000 trucks? This has always been my contention, that if you were fighting, you sort of fighting just Germany versus the Soviet Union, but no Italy, no Western allies, just Germany versus Soviet Union, in my estimation, Germany wins. I mean, you could do enough stupid moves. Hitler might be stupid enough and somehow do stupid enough moves that Germany loses. But it would have to be a nearly intentional act, in my opinion. And although those trucks are going to motorized Soviet divisions, they're also going to non-motorized, to just simply move stuff by truck around the Soviet Union, move it from the railway to the factory, or from the factory to the railway, just move around. Now, the Gaz trucks, I don't know their numbers, GAZ, those were a major production. There very well may have been 200,000, there may have been more than that Gaz trucks made during World War II by the Soviets. But just eliminating, and these are just two models, and I think the two biggest in number that were given to the Soviet Union by America. They also got some Bedford trucks, I believe, from Britain, and in the hundreds, if not thousands, of those. So the scale of aid is coming, and a huge amounts of it is coming through Iran. And like I say, it is a military invasion. It is a war of aggression, because Iran was not actively helping out the Axis in any material, meaningful way. It was simply to allow the transport of, from the British side, transport of goods. From the Russians, there was a bit of, political infiltration going on as well while they were doing that. Let's see what, okay, from Beam Slam. Okay, the Geneva Conventions, attacking persons who are recognized as hors de combat is prohibited. A person is hors de combat, which is basically dehorsed, or something. I think it goes back to, I don't know if that's quite right, but basically unable to fight. Anyone who is in the power of an adverse party, anyone who is defenseless because of unconsciousness, shipwreck, wounded, sickness, anyone who is clearly expressed the intention to surrender, provided he or she abstains from any hostile act and does not attempt to escape. That's not my understanding of the situation. I'm not saying you're lying to me, Beam Slam, not in any way, but you do not have to accept surrender. The U.S. Army, anyone in the power of the adversary. Yeah, is that they fought for nothing? I'm not sure exactly who you're saying, but yeah. The Trans-Iranian Railway had some of the first mainline diesel locomotives in places due to the lack of water for steam. Okay, I did not know that. IKB works, as we mentioned before, as you talked about, works in the railway, and he is something of a historical, both commercial as well as military historical expert. Might be going a little far in that he doesn't write books, but he's got a bunch of them and read a lot of the books on, and very knowledgeable. My sort of guru for information on railways and warfare and railways and history. And just again there, IKB and I have multiple series on this channel in which we play Railway Empire. The first game to do is a new game out, but Railway Empire. But we're both, he is sort of guiding me away, and we're talking about railways and history and society and how they change society. We look at Britain, we look at Germany and some others, I think. So we play together. I'm running the game, but we're both on Discord and chatting. So if you're interested in knowing about railways and mankind, because we cover a lot of the stuff, but focusing on how they influence things. Check out those things. I don't know if you haven't already. Admiral Teague has a really great channel that focuses on pop culture, but particularly, and that's where he takes his name from, on Star Trek, and he's trying to save Star Trek. So you can follow his link to, if you want to pop it in chat. I don't have it saved up right here. I should. Admiral Teague, if you're around, do post your link, and if we need to, I'll make sure I have that up if I need to approve the link or not. I don't know, but very good channel on that. Let me get this over here. Yeah. And well, you just copy. Yeah, yeah. And I understand the general meaning of horrors to combat, and they're trying to define it. So I'm trying to remember some of my classes, and literally some, and I don't mean classes in school. I mean some other classes that I did take that did talk about warfare, and not just this documentary series. Now, again, those things that I took were in the late 80s, early 90s. I don't remember the exact year, but that sort of, so it's been a long time, and the class might, just lasted a few hours, but going on over some of the stuff. But my understanding is you do not need to accept somebody's surrender. Now, again, like you were saying, or it was saying, if you're unconscious or whatever, that's a different matter. But yeah, just as the war could have ended in 1938. Oh, yes, the war could have been, or 1939. Yes, the war could have ended that time period. Okay, so I don't see for us right now a downside for getting Iran into our faction, so they will accept. So let's go for that. I know we did that. I'm not going to immediately ask them. Okay, they've accepted, so now we can see. Now, the problem with getting Iran now in this, with Hearts of Iron 4 more so than Hearts of Iron 3, and Hearts of Iron 3, if they join my faction, I could keep them potentially neutral, but neutral in my favor, because we can see here they have virtually no army. Now, my understanding with Iran in this time period in 41, they did not make their own bullets, let alone their own rifles, artillery pieces. So they were entirely dependent upon external manufacture for the modern means of warfare. So they could not, okay, so just mountain troop and some cavalry. So they could not. I was taught this stuff in the service and kind of remembered. Yeah, I don't understand beam slam, and also, and I was not in the service, and it was definitely not U.S. government teaching me. I don't want to specify more than that. These things. There are government policies about what to do. What particular governments, whether it's Denmark or the USA, says to do about these people versus what understanding. And some of these, and I don't remember their names. I don't remember, but definitely back then, you could look them up, and they, had written books, and some of the people that were talking, and had dealt with some criminal cases in laws of war, whether it was The Hague or whatever. So these were knowledgeable people, and I was just one person in the class, kind of thing that I was able to sign up for and take, if you will. Again, it wasn't through the university system, it wasn't through the U.S. government, it was through some other things. But and again, this is why I did know some of these mercenary types. I, again, never got undone it, but I I've had certain opportunities and got to know some of these people of this kind of stuff. And some of the, some of the people that I like, one guy I knew, and it's well documented, and there's magazine articles on what happened. He was he was an American who was in the French Foreign Legion, and jumped as part of the French Foreign Legion into the Belgian Congo, or it wasn't Belgian Congo at the point, but it was in the Congo, Kilowazi or whatever, that jump to go rescue people and dealing with these we'll call them rebels for the moment, but they were butchering people and whatnot. And he was part of the French Foreign Legion, and what at that time, and what he, not at the time I knew him, but at the time coming in doing that. And some of these people that I've talked to and dealing with people that they weren't prepared to take prisoner, they, whether the French Foreign Legion or some of these other types, and they weren't necessarily always surrendering, and they weren't taking surrenders, and it was very clear as to who these people were, meaning they were being, they had weapons on them and they were part of the other guys at the time. They weren't really looking to, leave anybody left alive, shall we say, at the end of the engagement. And yeah. And I don't know of any of them that, lined, had them under their control and then, tied their hands behind their back and then shot them or something. I don't know of any of them that did that. I don't know that happened either, at some of the particular things that I know of. But there was definitely not the idea of, oh, well, they're running away. Well, keep shooting because they'll be back. Oh, they've thrown their guns down. They're running away. Keep shooting. And that was the American policy. In the invasion of Iraq with the special forces, one of the in-bed reporters was horrified to watch, I think they were American Green Berets, gunning down Iraqi soldiers that had thrown away their guns and were running. They were just machine gunning them down, and they're running away. Yeah, because they weren't surrender. Now, these weren't trying to surrender. These were running away. Again, throwing their weapons away, and they may be hors de combat, in that they were no longer actively trying to be combatants. And they were maybe not near enough to want to surrender, meaning they were sort of, machine gunning from all-terrain vehicles. And the description that I read, and it's well described, so I'm not making this stuff up or what. I mean, this is well known. And so they, maybe not close enough to feel that they could surrender, and they were just running for their lives, and the Green Berets were just machine gunning them down. And the reporter was freaking out over this, going, they could be back tomorrow with another gun. These guys are just running away. We're going to kill all that we can now. And so but now they weren't under control in the sense that they hadn't been physically taken control of by the Green Berets, but in the sense that there was a big open field and they were running in the opposite direction, and the Green Berets sort of controlled the field. But they had never been properly processed, searched for like hidden weapons, and taken custody of. They had just, at some point, their will to fight had stopped, and they had jumped out of their trenches or other fighting behind the ditches or whatever, and run in the opposite direction without any weapons from the Americans, and the Americans continued shooting. And that was supposedly, and again, the reporter asked around, yeah, it was supposedly well within the terms of engagement of the American forces. And my understanding within the, okay, and as you say, but you see, just, again, and it may be literally coming down to milliseconds. The mere fact that somebody fires a Panzerfaust at a tank, and the tank goes boom, and that guy immediately pops up and raises his hand, and maybe he is entirely unarmed and is going to be hors de combat, and you're looking at him with, either out your tank or an infantry guy next to the tank, and you go, do I trust that this guy is honestly surrendering, or is my life still in threat? Well, I don't care. I'm going to go with he's still a threat, so I'm going to shoot. So is that under custody, under control? Now, again, if we talk custody, I entirely agree with you. Now, how is that? You know, the mere fact that you're pointing a gun at him and he is, you know, shouting something that you believe sounds like trying to surrender or don't shoot, and he is, you know, waving hands in the air, that does that mean that you have proper custody and whatnot? And and it may be a gray area and whatever that, yeah, many gray area, yeah, as you're saying. So there are rules written, and then there are the rules that are applied in practice, and yeah, and I try to judge America on not just, hey, America's great or America's good and it's doing no wrong. No, I'll criticize America when I think they are, you know, either policy wise or an individual or whatever has done wrong, is doing wrong. We want to capture that. Okay. So here we are. We have a German division and a Romanian division. We're going to send both down into here because they are infantry divisions and they can push on that. Oh, what's your shape? Okay, you're exhausted right now. What are the Romanians looking like? They're looking good. So we're going to have one add in another flank to that attack there, and two to go push on that flank there. Hello, folk. How you doing? Thank you for all your support. It's just pathetic that reporters like that have more say over foreign policy and military strategy than professional soldiers. Absolutely, folk. And, you know, I am not against the principle of embedding soldiers, or I mean, embedding reporters in with military operations. Hell, Ernie Pyle, who ends up dying in World War II, but a great reporter, who does just that, embeds with various. Ooh, boy! Now we were just 25 of the aircraft, but we were the most. Although there were some battleships and some. Okay, so so we were just the aircraft support for this, and we took out 3 heavy carriers, 3 heavy cruisers, 1 light cruiser, a destroyer of the British, and a French convoy. So that was very militarily significant, even though we may have played a small part. Inconclusive action there, and we lost a convoy. Now, why do we have a convoy down there? I don't godly know, but again, for some reason, we have air units down here that they're wanting to supply via sea instead of the freaking land and coming across here. So yeah, and so you need to maybe better vet your reporters as to okay, we're going to, just because we haven't won that, we're going to move 1 more German division that way, and the other German division is going to go this way. You know, just who, and they don't necessarily all need to be like former military to be military reporters, but they need to be better briefed in understanding the laws of war, the necessary conduct of wars, of fighting. And yeah, I am, because I constantly, have to put myself in a position of, I'm a paratrooper, or I'm a paratrooper lieutenant, and I have a platoon under my command, and I've landed behind the lines in Normandy, and I'm not even talking about like a surprise assault into a fortification and just shooting everybody and not pausing even if they start to raise their hands. I'm like, oh hey, we're fighting and whatnot, and then all of a sudden, not terribly far off, but a little ways off, 20 guys pop out of the woods and go, we surrender. Now, maybe if they're Italians, we just sort of, leave your weapons, walk away, go to the rear, find somebody else, because they're Italians and they're probably not going to fight. But if I'm not sure who they are and I presume they're Germans, you know, they're wearing German-like uniforms, because again, they're a little ways away. I can't quite see badges on them or some such thing. And I've got, you know, a platoon or a partial platoon, you know, 30 people or less. And I'm in enemy territory. I don't know that I'm going to accept their surrender. And again, these are, you know, they're looking down my muzzles of my guns, and they're not in my custody yet. And if I let them walk away, not only that they might come back and shoot, but maybe these guys want the war over and they don't really have any more stomach for fighting. They could even be, you know, what the Channel Island guys called them, pals of Adolf. That's sort of POH or whatever, POA, but it's the Russian collaborators that they used to, you know, military collaborators that you know, soldiers used to occupy Channel Islands. But there were others of these that are, you know, Russian nationals. There were some guy I know in the Netherlands who studies the World War II likes to tell the story of one of the last battles of World War II, sort of after World War II was sort of technically over, I think, in Europe. Germans fighting some Georgians, you know, from down here that had been German, you know, units, but they did not want to continue fighting or something, or very much in the last days. And so they you know, so these Georgians wearing German uniforms, but fighting Germans up here because they were part of the garrison. So there's a bunch of garrison, you know, Eastern Europeans garrisoning here, and they just may, oh, hey, good chance, Americans, we can surrender. We, you know, we hate communists. We may hate Russians, but, you know, we don't hate Americans, and we have no wish to fight you. And maybe them, you know, just wanting to surrender. But I don't know this as a, you know, who these guys are, as like a very small unit commander, sort of cut off. And these 20 guys, if I try to take them into possession, and I have a strong belief that there is Germans coming to, you know, retake the bridge that I'm guarding, or rail section that I'm guarding, or road area that I'm guarding. And if I let them go, just let them wander away, they may tell the Germans where I am, that I've set up an ambush, and I don't want them to know exactly where I am. I'm probably just going to say shoot, and shoot them down. Because, again, they're not yet in my custody. Yes, they've sort of appeared out of somewhere with their hands up, and they're, you know, within muzzle, you know, I can easily hit them with basic rifles and machine guns. They're not like super far away, but they're not super close either. Again, they're not in my custody, but they are sort of hors de combat, but they're, again, not really my custody. In the control sense, and that's, if you know, how do you determine control? Because they're looking down, I'm looking down, do I control them because my guys have rifles pointed at them? Or do I control them that I have them tied up, you know, or in a you know, locked in a room, or whatever? So I don't know. I would be, you know, again, in that sort of thing, I would be ordering to shoot, just because I am responsible for my men and for my mission, and willing to spend the lives of my men for my mission, of, you know, blocking German reinforcements at a critical time. So yeah, maybe I'm wrong in my decisions. Maybe current army would like, oh God, Gamer can never be in command of U.S. troops. He is too bloodthirsty. If they were hearing this now, that might be the case. I don't know, but that is my estimation. Okay, so we got a German. All right, okay, division. Okay, what we're gonna do is we're gonna send this division here. They're going to attack there. And these guys are going to support that attack. So now we have 2 attacking, but only 1 going to move out of position. That because we have this guy here, and these guys move into reinforce. You guys, how is your equipment levels? Mainly worrying about tanks. Yeah, they got some captured vehicles here on the Eastern Front, the T-26s. But otherwise, the 80 CS medium tanks, this is a well-equipped unit. Though it had retreated back, it's probably got hit by too much. So we're gonna push you forward there. You're coming up to here. Okay, so this attack on these mountain troops has stopped now that they are reinforced with the cavalry division. These guys are coming here. These guys are just taking their time moving. That's not doing too well. They're about ready to collapse. Okay. Well, I think we'll be okay even if they collapse, because we got these guys. They're going to take back that city. Really sort of Novus or Insk or whatever there is actually where the port is. So I don't think they're going to get cut off even if they collapse. So we're going to keep pushing there. Okay, so we're going to push into there. These guys are... Well, how are they doing? Okay, they're... No, we're going to stop that. They're going to support this attack, because I want this attack to succeed. Okay, so our Iraqi allies have collapsed. Iran is in the Axis, but not yet. Oh, they've joined the war. Okay, I didn't ask them to join the war, but I just sort of want them as a friendly ally, I guess. Whatever. So, yeah, whatever. Do your thing. You can convince. If you can convince your soldiers it's right, either your superiors have no objection or don't get to know it's your call. Yeah, but but also do notice, I am positing a situation in which I am not just out of communication in the sense I can't talk to higher level command, but out of communication in the sense that I don't have support from anybody else, meaning resupply, reinforcements, artillery support, air support, whatever it may be, we don't have, and that's what I'm positing as conditions for this, as being how I would handle that situation. That is different than if I can readily take them as prisoners. If I can readily take them as prisoners, I would take them as prisoners. Whether it's at that point a legal or a moral call on my part, I'm not absolutely sure, but I would be taking them as prisoners if that was a generally... okay, so this pocket has collapsed. That's why we have these large groups here. Right, okay, let's take a look. Okay, so we've just now pushed them out of here. They had been there. I think we're going to go up that way, because these guys are going to go here. These guys are going to go... Let's actually put them on trains. You can get them... Oh, well, no, let's take them down to here. We can use some more support down here. And you guys keep going. So now with Kharkov in our hands, we can sort of see here that the clock is still ticking here. We have three days remaining to get that rail line functioning. Here we are supplying 47 units worth of supply for 40 capable, so we're stressing it out. But down here for other units, it's supplying 36. Down here, they're not yet supplying because we haven't. Again, it had more days to get that rail line in functioning. Yeah, I know you're not a lawyer. Yeah, I know. I know what you meant there. I got the context. Yeah, and so yeah, and it's that kind of thing for me. And I don't think I'm particularly bloodthirsty or particularly, anything like those natures or whatnot. But that's just how. Because I've not been in the Army, but I have gone through the Army ROTC in college, up to a level, doing that. So I have had the training of some of that. Again, it's not fully and complete in all training. No, I'm not, and it's not just the same if you're in the Army now or we're in the Army as being the same as that. No, but I have had some experience, so I sort of kind of know what I'm talking about. Notice I said sort of, not actually know what I'm talking about. Okay, so here we are. We've taken here. Now, we want to get across this river. I could push here, and that wouldn't be a bad idea, because we can push this province from here and here. But I want to sort of go now. So I'm going to push here, because I can push from here. I wish I could plan it out better to have these like you can in 3. But once that starts, I'm going to support this attack from here. I'm going to, let's see, how are you? What shape? You're in good shape. I'm actually going to start sending you across the river, and the Romanians are good shape. I'm going to use you as supporting fire. So that way they're being pushed there. Now these guys are not entrenched, so they're moving along because they're moving along there. We're going to attack here, and I think with both of these divisions, attack this mountain division here. Now these guys are going to also attack there. I know this leaves the front open, but what we're going to do here is we do have these guys coming up this way, which will sort of block there, and both of these divisions are in good shape, both equipment-wise and organization supply-wise. They're going to attack here, which will hold this flank open, and these guys are going to support that attack, so we're not leaving this open if we do succeed here. But that's mostly okay. That's turned green, so that's good. So you can sort of see this is how I like to play the game. I know there's a lot of people that like to play with the you know, planning and then just let the AI battle it all out. That is not wrong. It's just a different desire and play style, in my opinion. I like to sort of plan these out. Yes, reserve. Yes, ROTC. Yes, Reserve Officer Training Course. Yes, I was in 3 years of Naval Junior ROTC in high school, and I was 2 years in ROTC, Army ROTC, just sort of understood as Army if you're not specifying Naval. But, you know, Reserve Officer Training Corps in, you know, in university. So that's, just, again, just give my bona fides and levels of training and whatnot. So between honestly, well, I could go into, there's some more detail there. But basically, the Naval Junior ROTC program is sort of a recruiting program for basic sailors, in essence. Most of the graduates from that end up going into the Navy end up just going in as enlisted Navy personnel, because there was one sort of special class that I briefly had one, because they just generically you go in, there were 2 teachers. One was for Naval Junior ROTC. One was a really liked a guy. He was a small boat captain, if you will. I mean, it's not like he was a you know, a petty officer, but a small boat captain, I think down in the Mekong, but definitely in the riverine forces in Vietnam, and saw considerable combat in doing that during the Vietnam War. And I don't know if he was specifically hired by, because it is sort of a, because these are all at that point, these guys, although they wear the uniform, they're basically inactive reserve officers. So they come to school wearing the Navy uniform, and they're inactive reserve. They're not active duty, but they are in uniform. And during he was there through the 3 years of high school that I went through, but I only had him for about half of a semester as my teacher, because it just sort of generically put into their into the classes. But what they would do is, the guy in charge of it was a World War II vet who commanded a squadron of PT boats in World War II. Now, so I don't know if he picked the other guy because he was also, you know, a small boat guy who had served on one of the battleships. I forget which one, during the Vietnam War. I don't know if it was the Missouri or the New Jersey or whatever, but he had also served on a battleship during the Vietnam War, bombarding the coast and whatnot. But his main combat experience was small boat. But he commanded a PT squadron in the Pacific. one of his subordinates was JFK. So he commanded, the future president, PT 109. So he saw a good portion of the war as a PT boat squadron commander in the Pacific through there, and learned a lot from him. And what he did is they went with the other teacher and actually moved students around to get the better, more intellectually developed into the captain. And he was an actual naval captain as rank, not just a captain. You call them, even if they're an the Army, what the Army would call an NCO, or the Navy a petty officer, you still call him captain of the boat, if they're a captain of the boat. But he was actually rank of captain, which would equivalent in the Army as a colonel. And I had him as for 2 years as my specific classroom teacher, and he was very advanced in his teaching and pushing his pupils. And his classroom was half the size as the other teacher's classroom once they got done shuffling the people, because he was again trying for a more advanced and more elite training. Now, unfortunately, he retired. So my third year in high school was with a really nice guy. He a commander. He served in as part of the base command structure. I don't know exactly what, not in command of it, but part of the command base structure way back at the time for Cam Ranh Bay during Vietnam. So he was another, but not really so much, in my understanding, and by his personality, I wouldn't take it as being a combat officer. Not that he wouldn't do his duty, but the small boat guy was serious. I could tell. He shot at people with M16s or whatever, onshore and offshore. And the other guy definitely shot at a lot of people in World War II from PT boats. So the other guys were much more combat, where he was more rear area. But still, it's in the Vietnam War, so there's still guerrilla actions, and there were definitely attacks at Cam Ranh Bay while he was there as part of the garrison there. So he was also that. Yes, there is several famous movies. They were expendable, which is earlier than the early stages of the war, is the best one I would go for the PT boats. And then there is, I think, I forget the name, Robert Montgomery, I believe. Is that who I think plays Kennedy in the movie about PT 109? But yeah, if you want to check those out, those are good. Okay, so we've gotten 2 here. We're going to push 1 up here. We're risking a bit, guys. We're going to put Liebstender Adolf Hitler that way, because I think these guys are going to defend okay, hopefully. We also have all of these guys here moving north up along the flanks. That's why I'm not so worried about if I leave a slight gap somewhere in here and they somehow... Okay, so these guys are falling back here. Let's push both of them this way, I think, because we got enough support there. And here, those that aren't moving, they can also support this attack here. So just give you some of my background in training. Again, I don't want to say it's as good or as much as someone who was actually in, but I do have some understanding of what I'm talking about. Though I definitely call myself an armchair general, in that I've not commanded at all a general level or any other officer level of command. And there's a lot of real world not just dealing with people, but dealing with situations in the real world that are not wargaming. I think I'm good at war games. I think I'm very good at war games, though of course I've only played a few people. There's many more people out there that I've not played that maybe I get my butt handed to me. But I think I'm a good war gamer. Okay, these guys are falling back here, and we can just maybe cross that river. These guys are pushing here. They're coming up here and falling back. Got these guys coming up. Okay, well, we've got... Okay, you come across here. Right, okay. This division attack there. Start that attack. I also think I'm a pretty good analysis of, analyzing situations around the world and putting pieces together. So just to talk myself up, as it were, but I sort of guess I need to do that since I'm a YouTuber. We have to be all full of ourselves enough. I think the RN would call the officer in command of a vessel who is not the rank of a captain would be referred to as post-captain, but is posted as a captain at least during the Age of Sail. Yes, there is a whole to get you would a command a person commanding a vessel, because I've read a bunch of naval fiction in the RN era and the Age of Sail. If it was below the rates, which I believe is 50 gun, if it's less than 50 gun ship, if it's a below the rates, they would be technically called master and commander of the vessel. Though they would be referred to as, captain while on board their ship by their crew. And they would identify themselves to another RN officer who didn't know, I'm the captain of that sloop, which is definitely would be known, or that corvette or whatever, that would be known as something below the rate of ship, so that they would know. And of course there was it was on I forget which shoulder it was. It's either the left or the right shoulder. You would have an epaulette thing, that was gold or looked gold. It was often brass, metallic thing on your shoulder. On one side, it would be for master and commander, and you would move it to the other side for a post captain. Two would be either, I think, maybe commodore, but definitely admiral. Having them on both shoulders would define that. And so once you've been made post of a ship of the line, or no, 50, I think it would be a frigate or above. So what would that be? That would be like 32 guns or something. Yeah, of the rate, if you're, you need of a frigate captain or above, it would be a post captain. So if you were a sloop or a I'm somebody that's actually giving command, not just who's the guy who's in charge of the rowing boat for the few hours, but actually giving command of a crew, but it was below the rate. So below the rate of a frigate, you would be technically a master and commander, but they would call you, courtesy wise, call you a captain, and you would be a captain of that particular vessel. So yes, but post captain. So that is sort of, and the ranks structures are. Oh, we took out, for the loss of one submarine, we took out 6 convoys or transport ships, however you want to call that. There, may be a worthwhile, and there we no loss, but we took out 4 there. So yeah, so I've been able to know, again, like World War, having as my teacher for 5 days a week, one hour a day. World War II vet who, told us war stories, but also trained us. So, I was, in classroom, out of classroom, some overnight field trip type things, getting us training and whatnot. So, I did a lot of that kind of stuff. And so I've known some very interesting people in my life. So World War II vets are not some vague thing that I know. My friend Eric, who for a while was doing some commissions when he had time. He's Norwegian, lives in Norway, but was interviewing World War II vets, mostly just phone call kind of things, trying to get that had agreed to signed in and had agreed to be interviewed for some historical projects. But otherwise, he's mostly never met a World War II vet. Where, like I say, I've had long and close associations, including family members that are World War II vets. So, and talking about that stuff. So for me, World War II, it's not my living memory, but is very much in the living memories of people that I know. Okay, so these guys are moving into unopposed here. These guys are crossing the river. That'll take them a while to cross the river. These guys are crossing the river and pushing up that way, but that'll put us 2 divisions there. 1 division will be here. We are sort of pushing, I guess. And again, I love that they've finally done this. I mean, I know it's the last major update, but it's been a while out. But where before this pushing in wouldn't so matter so much, but now if we push up and take this railway, it now, you know, radically reduces the amount of supply. Because the amount of supply moved on that versus this, so supplying all of Leningrad is just so much better. We're going to push north. And so this, you know, yes, we are pushing towards Moscow, but, and there's good reason too, but, and I definitely, playing a lot of these games, I sort of like to, well, I sort of have the habit, I should say, of going with the flow and sort of forgetting the big picture, you know, looking for the opportunity where to push on them and maybe losing the big picture here. But if we can secure Leningrad, or whether the Finns, which are not our allies, but I guess co-belligerents would be the proper term, and we could have the line here, and we don't have to, you know, have garrison back that way. A lot of these units here, the lines will shorten, and that we can then push either up this way or down this way in future. So cutting these railroads are very useful. What is Frog Eye saying? Is it possible when you look at naval battles to hit the button on the lower so we can see the details of the battle? Okay, maybe, let's see, next time do we have one? I'll do that. Oh, well, maybe we could do that here. Okay, you're talking here, I guess. Okay, so, damaged, enemy transport ships damaged here. Oh, no, yeah, okay, yeah, damaged. Killing blow, 1 damaged and got away by the 2 different subs, and one of our subs was damaged. Okay. Oh, and I was also recently asked, okay, what is it here? Current wars, German-Soviet war. Yeah, this is what they wanted to see. Wanted to see our casualty rates. That was one thing. So we have lost 250,000 between, you know, divisions. This is, I don't know if that's dead or captured or wounded or whatever. Okay, the Soviets have lost 2 million. So we're doing about 10-to-1 casualty rates to the Soviets in this war. And also I was asked, how did I have so much? Because we have almost if we continue at this usage with this amount of fuel, it will take a year to use up our fuel. And once in a while we go to positive, and he's having trouble with his fuel. And, let's see here. Okay, and I wanted to do this and just hover over this for a moment so he can, if he checks this out, can pause so we can see here. And he was wondering why I had so much, and whether, I think he has more motorized units than I do. And so was it just that I was using less, or somehow I have greater production of fuel? I don't know, and I'm just hopefully he can then compare whatever this is, our, you know, current daily gain versus our usage there. Now we just have a free military factory here. Let's look at this, which will show us our, okay, we are down on heavy artillery by 48 guns, but garrison equipment, which I'm not really worried about. I know we're way down negative. This I'm more worried about. Radios, support equipment. Tanks, close air support aircraft, we're doing badly on. We're barely keeping up on fighter aircraft. So, now let's look over here at production here. Okay, we can increase our fighter aircraft. We have the factories to do so. We can do another line, or I can jump to 5 per line, per box. But we are down on rubber, so that is hurting whatever the rubber usage is down at the bottom of this list. And you can shift it, like these guys we're doing 1.4 a week because we don't have any rubber for them and they need rubber. And same here. Well, 2, you know, 2 a month approximately. So what we can do here now is let's come over to trade, click on rubber. Okay, the reason we're not having the rubber right now is we're not able to get it from the Siamese Empire. So let's click on this. Let's go to 0 on that. Send that. Okay. So because is producing rubber, but not possible to trade with them, or possible route. Now that is probably because I've done this. So let's remove that. Let's go down. Let's go down to that. Avoid. Let's never. Okay. So now I think I did that to myself. So let's go. Siamese Empire. Okay. Well, not route. Trade route cannot be found. Well, let's trade with Japan, I guess. We'll try that. We'll see if we can do that there. So that will hopefully get us, okay, so now we're doing a bit better there with transports, a bit better there with that now that we have rubber coming in. Okay, what I think we'll do is, since it's using aluminum, we have a lot of aluminum coming in from places like Hungary or whatever, so we'll increase the amount of radio production because we're keeping up with the tanks for the size of our tank forces. Okay, yeah, no problem, Frog Eyes. I'm happy to show whatever. I don't pay attention. I just never really have to a lot of those statistical elements of the game. I just want to see the results kind of thing, maybe much, whether that or like the other, like casualty numbers or some things, but I'm happy to show them off for people if that is their interest. I try to do whether both live. Oh, these guys. Okay, these guys have. Well, it looks like the Soviets were pushing in here. They've won, but if I'm judging this right, they're heading in different directions. I like the old counter system better. The old one was a square counter, yes, but as a unit was moving, it would point up one of the 4 corners as to determine, or whatever, determine which direction it was going. Where here I have to look up at the model, and it looks like these guys are going to occupy here and going up to there now that they've defeated this unit instead of occupying there. But these guys are walking into there and coming out, so it looks like we'll be okay. I think we will head to Mycop again while they're trying to cross the river, because these guys will come in here and get resupplied and reorganized and hold open the path for me, just like that. And they'll have the path through here, and we'll be getting some more soldiers. And now that we're down to 1 division there and it's moving, we're going to attack, which will pin them in place, and we will support the attack from there, which will maybe do better. There we go. Let's take a look at the air situation. Again, I would recommend if you want to play like I do, manually micromanage everything, which I like, I would play it slower than I'm playing now. But it's a combination of wanting to keep the, the action going, and also just busy talking with you guys. Okay. So I'd play it slower. So we're going to move these guys up to this airbase that can support. I hope we have enough supply that can support these aircraft, which is also an issue. And we're going to put them up over here. Yeah, like that. And this unit here, because they're only here, again, I think we can supply them. So these guys are going to come here and also come over there. And we can see when we click here the area of operations, and the greater they cover a particular air region, the more effective they are. Now let's take a look here. So okay, we have here, Okay, all of this we have all the way up to there. They can hold 100 airplanes, and we can look at supply. Okay, so here these aircraft would get supply from here. We're supplying 30 units out of this. However, they're calculating it. Well, actually, you can see supply hub 31.16 or whatever, and it's capable of doing 40, so we can come here. So that won't be stressing the supply out. And you need to keep that in mind. So if you were, say, here and having terrible supply, but having good supply back here and have an airbase that would work, and as opposed to an airbase up here, you would bet better to keep it here, just as a general principle. And you can automate these things again, but I prefer to. Okay, let's again look. Okay, we're gonna move these guys, not maybe, these guys up to, at least some of them up to here. Yeah, yes, keep them over there. And see on the ground. Okay, so okay, we have this airbase here. Okay, these guys can handle a lot more. So let's move them to here and up over here. These guys as well, they have longer range, the 110s, and we'll also put them up over here. Okay, let's look. Okay, so this is well within our air coverage area here. So now let's move both over here, and one squadron up over here. Once you get here, the other squadron, let's see if we put it over there. Supply out. Get better coverage. Okay, so they're all moving up to Krakow, and I'll have orders to do that better. Chronos. Funny, I got away and went back and only passed 3 days in game. I know, and some people are complaining, and justifiably so, that the clock isn't moving so much. Some of that is definitely me talking. Some of that is just me micromanaging the game. So, okay, so what we're going to do here is, okay, these guys here are well organized, so they're going to join that attack. I think just to open up a new flank here, we're going to, so coming from more provinces, which helps you out, and these guys are going to just start moving and occupying up there, keeping the front moving forward. So even if I wasn't talking so much to these guys, oh, we have been embargoed by Finland. I don't know why Finland doesn't like us. Okay, these guys are going there. So these guys are going to cross this river here. These guys are also going to cross that river unopposed there. These guys are moving into the city. This is the Moscow thrust. Okay, well, this is just a motorized regiment, so it's going to attack here into an infantry division, but it's a very good motorized regiment. Let the clock start. Okay, and we're then going to support it from 2 flanks. So although it will be just one regiment going in to occupy that, we will be pushing on from there and going deeper into it. And I don't know, you know, I'm sure it would vary from person to person, but would really me just playing and describing what I'm doing. I'm not just saying, like, be silent, but would that really be as I definitely get the idea that maybe play a bit more for sure. I'm not saying I shouldn't, and whatnot. Then just playing without the history chatter, would that be as popular? I don't know. You guys can chime up, but maybe I'm taking a sample of people that are the ones that are here, so they love the history chatter. Okay, one squadron is going to come down and sort of like what I mentioned down to there and come up over Fubon and not be deployed too far forward and stay up over Ukraine here, but just to get a little more further forward. So I definitely get the idea of watching to see what the outcome is, if you will. Let's also push here, since they're not fortified and maybe dug in a bit, but so I don't know. And even those later on YouTube, watching this when it's released, I do want your feedback, because there's no point in me making a show that nobody wants to watch. Okay, you two divisions go that way. You guys continue to move. We're going through swamps here, so they're going slow. We're moving some over to the forest to sort of push up, which aren't going to go terribly fast there either, but a bit faster, but able to push here. So I always like feedback. I don't care if you tell me I suck. I just want, if you do, fine. Just tell me why you think I suck. And whether I'm going to improve or change or something, I don't know. We found some unit there. I don't know how he was there. I don't know if he landed. Okay, these guys are now going to support the attack there. Maybe check your discussions. You might be able to upgrade. Oh, check your decisions. Oh, yes. Okay. Part of my worry with some of these... Oh, pause. I thought it was paused. We no longer get the effects of Eastern Front Initiative. Uh-oh. Yeah, that'd be not good. Is that this unit... Where is this unit going to pop up? Meaning if I refit the 8th Panzer that's somewhere, is this going to pop up back in Germany? And then I got to bring it all the way to the front. That's with all... Because these are all current units that I would pull out of the front line, and I don't know whether it's worth pulling out of the front line to do so. Now, the SS divisions, that's a different issue. Here, I think. No, it's another clever little... They do a lot of... Oh, it's... Is it up here? No, where is it? No, where is... Oh, man. I know it's around here somewhere. I know I've used it. No. Thought it was decisions, but I'm just not seeing it. Officer Corps units. Here we are. This is it. I found it. Okay, this would pull the Leap Standard off. This would pull the Polizei off the front. Expanding the 12th SS Ritter. Okay, this would pull the SS Ritter off. Right, map. Now, where is the SS Ritter? Where is it? Is it on the front lines or is it... Thank you, IKB. Yeah, I did find it. But yeah, I was looking... oh, I think it's... Is this it? No, that's... These are other sort of garrison units. I could move this forward, but it's just a few brigades. It isn't like a proper division. This, I think, is just a headquarters staff, yes. And this is the Watch Battalion of Liebstandart, which is, again, it's sort of headquarters and garrison staff. This is sort of a training outfit plus, you know, honor guards and actual security for Hitler kind of thing is what these guys are doing. And there is definite rotation between these, you know, units and from the front line. So this is what's sitting back in headquarters. So that, again, that's really sort of a nothing. This parachute unit here, the 7th Flieger Division, I could use it, but again, it's not much of a unit. You could put it on the front line. Sure, it's probably a, you know, good fighting unit, but it's not much of a unit, and I really have not had a good airborne need for it. The Ritter SS is maybe over. Did I use it as internal security? I'm not sure. Oh, here it is. Oh yeah, Totenkopfstandard. Okay, these are SS cavalry unit. Alright, well. Okay, recruit and deploy. Yeah, we'll do that. We'll expand this. I think there will be a pop-up here in a moment. You guys, we're gonna put you on trains and get you. I think I need more this way here. Okay, so they're doing it fair at best. Launch operation. Ah, yes, Eagle. The Eagle Operation. The Eagle has landed. Yes, great movie. Michael Caine. What is it? Plays Kurt Steiner. Okay, so you guys. Okay, we're going to let you organize up while you guys are moving into that position. These guys are coming in right behind, so we're coming up there. Okay, so these guys succeeded in pushing into this province. This is another area that I need more units at. You know, okay. These guys stop this. I need more divisions up here. Via train, yes. We have somebody here. Okay, you're almost across the river. Okay, you guys aren't nearly across the river. Okay, we're gonna put you on trains and get you up here. Because right now it's my flanks that I'm worried about. And it's one thing to go, don't worry about your flanks, push to the coast, Rommel or whoever here. Yeah, with the infantry following along. This is a much shorter battlefront than what we're talking out here. You know, if we look at scale of operations. Okay, so they've come up here. They're being counterattacked. They're doing okay. Again, this is just a motorized regiment here. You know, it's not a full division. It's not a panzer division yet. I don't think they have any tanks. We can look and see. No, oh, they got some stugs. So they got stugs. So some armor and a support capacity. We'll see if they hold, but they'll fall back to one of the two positions if they don't hold. But they've got a river to fight on. Oh, good. Okay, so now we've got some Romanians up here that will push into there, and we'll also send in the Bulgarians. Turn that from a maybe not doing so well into doing... Okay, so now I think we're going to get the city there, so we're going to move here to sort of push along there, hold the front line. Okay, guys, you move up to there. Yes, you to there. You support that attack. Okay, so we moved into here. That is good. Now, let's attack into there. You support, and you support. That should be well supported. Now that we pushed here, let's send all of these guys here. Instead of supporting this attack, we're going to push in along this railway here. And yeah, I know I'm sort of like earlier on giving up an opportunity possibly for a big pocketing, which is good. But we're trying to just push. Okay, so they are doing okay-ish there, so we'll support them. Keep everybody moving up. I think you're going to just walk along there. And it looks like we have some more naval battles that we can check out. And yes, okay, so we have the history here. We lost 3 ships. Now, take a naval look at things. I would be more willing to put up with the loss of these ships. Maybe, okay, well, okay, well, here, this supply transfer, we're looking at ocean depth, okay. Well, maybe I can turn this off again with still trade with Japan. Yes, okay, well, are we still trading effectively with Japan? No. Why aren't we trading with Japan? Okay, now we just have a naval route inefficiency of only 90%, so, and we have that. I don't know. I don't know. Well, I think we're going to end this episode here. I want to thank you all for watching. I do appreciate it very much. No, this, that, and that. And see you next time for more, yes, more Hearts of Iron.